I'm an OSC registered Level 3 immigration advisor, and I am senior immigration lawyer at GSN Immigration. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you can continue to watch our extremely interesting videos about UK visa and immigration advice. Today's topic is a newish and strange and complicated topic, something that's just come up actually Monday, 3 days ago, but it has a bit of a history. It's about illegal entry into the UK and about possible subsequent entitlement to British citizenship. Let me give you a brief historical overview. The late lamented Conservative government introduced this new Act of Parliament called the Illegal Migration Act 2023. The election happened, a lot of it actually didn't come into effect, but the way that it was supposed to be, this very tough new legislation that if you had come to the UK illegally in one way or another, you could never get British citizenship, whatever happened, and you could never get settlement, whatever happened. This was a very tough new law. Now, as you know, the election was called and the government lost, and we got the new Labour government, which is actually doing quite well to be as tough, but in a different way, a different style. The new Labour government introduced a new, a little Act of Parliament. It's called Amendment Regulation. Illegal Migration Act 2023, Amendment Regulations 2024. It amended this Act of Parliament in a way which looked nice. These provisions were not going to happen, that someone could be prevented from acquiring British citizenship or settlement if they had entered the UK illegally. But Monday, 3 days ago, 10th of February, they introduced not legislation, but some small changes, small in quantity, but big in quality, into not an Act of Parliament, not immigration law, but published policy guidance issued by the Home Office. In this particular case, the good character guidance for British naturalisation applications. Now, the way that this works, it hasn't been through Parliament. It doesn't look as though it has very strong legal effect, but it can have very strong legal effect, really. It tells Home Office caseworkers how to process the cases, what legal principles to follow. It says some remarkably strong things. It applies from Monday, 10th of February 2025. Anybody, any person who applies for British naturalisation from that date, if they came to the UK, well, it uses some funny words, via a dangerous journey, not closely defined, more broadly and generally came illegally to the UK, which we know that asylum seekers do, or pretty much most of them, don't they? Such a person will normally be refused if they applied from Monday onwards and till further notice. They apply for British citizenship, British naturalisation, they will normally be refused. Any person who previously came from any time from now on, previously whenever, so in 6 months' time, if it was now, 6 months' time or a year's time, 2 years' time, a person who previously entered the UK illegally could be on the small boats, the lorries and so on and so forth. They apply for British naturalisation, they will normally be refused. It sounds very harsh, and when you think about it, it's even harsher than you think. Let's say such a person came to the UK illegally and claimed asylum, as many people do. Asylum claim successful, they become a refugee. After 5 years, they could apply for settlement. So they have refugee settlement. According to what this actually says, they can never succeed in getting British citizenship. It sounds bad, but even when you think about it a bit more deeply, even worse than it sounds. In the law, there is a defence. Someone who comes to the UK illegally, for example, with a false document, a false passport, they claim asylum. The law provides a defence because they are applying for refugee status. The English law provides a defence you were coming to claim asylum, you were a genuine asylum seeker, the law provides a defence. So if the criminal law says you might be on the wrong side of the criminal law because you use a fake passport or a fake document, the other part of the criminal law says, no, you have a defence. You came for a legitimate purpose to claim asylum. Apparently, that doesn't seem to matter now. Even if you avoid getting prosecuted, which I think many people do now, the people understand the law better now than they used to a few years ago. Many people could avoid getting prosecuted for using fake documents. But if we take this to mean what it says, they will never succeed in application for British citizenship. Now, maybe things are going to change. It's very, very easy for the Home Office to change policy guidance. Someone just writes some text, presses a button, and it goes onto the internet. Maybe things will change, maybe policy guidance will change, maybe the government will introduce new legislation. But at the moment, if it means what it says, which we must assume that it does, unless we find out something different, any person from last Monday who entered the UK illegally, they will never succeed in an application for British citizenship. What do you think about this, Mr. Shah? You're a thought leader in this part of town, obviously.
Yes, and this is a shocker, honestly. Lots of people, they're anticipating to become British because they're part of the British society. They're contributing in many different ways, and they expect to become British one day and have that status. And now that seems to be going away. For the audience, I would like to go through a couple of different scenarios so we can understand this a bit more. Assuming someone came to the UK without a visa, they stayed illegal for some time, and then they tried to regularize their stay. It could be based on family life that they may have developed in the UK. They end up getting a visa, they stay on that for, let's say, 10 years or so, and then they end up getting indefinite leave to remain. They may have a British wife, they may have children who are British, grandchildren who may be British, etc. Would I be right in assuming that now, because of this new change, that person may never be able to acquire British nationality?
Yes, you're absolutely right. The way that it's written, that's exactly what it says.
So it's not necessarily just associated with the people holding refugee status.
Well, anyone who came illegally in any sort of context. I mean, not everyone acquires refugee status, I suppose. They might come illegally, they might live here for years and years and years, they might eventually acquire status. But the way that it is written, anyone who came illegally in any sort of context, it would apply to them.
Sure. Another scenario that people may be concerned about, for example, someone came to the UK on a visitor visa, student visa, anything like this, and which is entry with a legal valid visa, and they end up claiming asylum because of their circumstances. They can't go back, and they end up getting it, end up having ILR. Will this apply to them or not?
No, they didn't enter the UK illegally, they entered legally.
Yes.
So probably not. There's two slightly different things I'd like to point out, two slightly different scenarios. Someone comes on a visitor visa or a student visa, something strange, bad, nasty happens in their home country, makes them claim asylum. Some people, they don't have such good arguments that they just say, well, I just came here so that I could claim asylum. They can certainly be accused of deception, but that would really impact on their asylum claim. They didn't come to the UK illegally, they came legally, maybe dishonestly, but legally. So I don't think it would necessarily apply to such a person.
Sure. I mean, what will happen to children in this sort of circumstances? Children are usually dependent on adults.
The children will receive the same fate as the parent, I guess.
Sure. Okay. So it means basically it's all about the entry rather than the route they may take in the UK.
Yes, it's just about illegal entry, which means what it says. You come in, in the dead of night, in a small boat, concealed in a lorry, something like that. Okay. If you come on an airliner, somehow or other, that's unlikely to be illegal entry. It's probably going to be illegal entry. If the airline is doing its job properly, because they wouldn't have let you onto the airline unless you had the correct papers and background.
True. Exactly. And is there any sort of discretion? Is it a strict no, or
No,
is there anything
there
that may
is.
be done about it?
These was clearly in part discretion, will normally be refused. That clearly imparts discretion. But the thing about discretion is you never know how it's going to be exercised.
Sure. I mean, it would be advisable for people in that sort of circumstances to take advice before they make an application.
Take advice from where?
From good lawyers like yourself.
Well, in England?
Yes.
From their foreign country?
No, I mean people applying for naturalisation are already in the
I see.
UK.
Yes, someone who is suddenly discovers
Yes.
that they look as though they're on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yes.
That they should take advice from a good lawyer and say, what are my chances? What's likely to happen? Because naturalisation application is quite expensive now, isn't it? You don't want to waste your money. I know that British citizenship is very important for a lot of people. However, if you hold a settlement, you have a lot of advantages. You don't have the entitlement to a British passport, but you have a lot of the advantages. You can stay here forever, you can work, you can study, you can run your own business. It's a hard thing for people to accept, but settlement gives you not everything, but it gives you a lot that British citizenship gives you. Some people, that they're going to have to be satisfied with that, unless the law changes a lot.
Sure. And I mean, there is no sort of, it's a vague question, but there's no sort of...
I'm used to that, don't I?
limit on the number of time a person can apply. So they could try now. If unsuccessful, maybe there are more different circumstances they may come into play and try
yes,
later.
but I mean there would have to be different circumstances, because if there weren't different circumstances, you're just going to get the same refusal and spend the same amount of money as well. And as far as this new policy goes, it's not a time thing. You know, it doesn't improve after 5 years or 10 years. It says someone who any time they entered illegally, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, the way it is written at the moment doesn't make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
They say that time heals all wounds, but it doesn't necessarily work in this context.
Okay. And could you please tell us what remedies may be available to people who may get refused? How do they challenge naturalisation refusal usually?
Well, they could challenge it by judicial review, but look, we know from Mohammed Al-Fayed many years ago, a challenge judicial review of refusal of British citizenship, it doesn't necessarily go very far. Judicial review works like this. The judicial reviewing judge, who's strong, cruel and merciless, decides, is there anything really wrong with the decision? It's not, is it the decision that I would have made? It's like, is there anything really wrong with this decision? Is it within a range of reasonable decisions? Is there something wrong, some sort of glaring problem or error? If not, it fails. Judicial review is pretty tough going. It's not like an appeal. You can start from scratch and come up with all kinds of interesting things. Judicial review is this decision seriously defective? If not, then the claim fails.
So the judicial review is one of the remedies. There is no right of appeal anyways.
No.
What about administrative review?
No, it doesn't exist for this.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much for sharing a lot of information about this, and a lot of people were unclear about this. Hopefully they get their answers.
A lot of people haven't heard about it. Yeah, it's only just a few days.
Exactly.
In GSM Immigration, we try to keep ahead of the pack, you know.
Exactly. Thank you so much for today's vlog, and we see you in the next one.
See you next time. Goodbye, everybody.